So I want to do this rapid round session with you
Mm,
because my students actually, have a lot of questions
sure.
for you.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not sure if you may find some of these a bit funny,
No,
but I
go
think
ahead. Go
you
ahead.
come across, some of them before already. But in quick replies, lah, okay?
Yeah, yeah, no
You,
problem.
you,
I
you
know
can
how
think
quick
about
rapid fire does.
in terms of like as a performer or astrologer, how would you answer them? I think
Mm, mm.
this is the fun part. Okay, so
Yeah,
let's
of course,
let's
of course.
let's go.
Yeah.
Question one: why is it some people are so comfortable on stage, but I find it awkward?
Very simple. They have a lot of experience. They done it 100 times. And if it's your first time, that's the kid on the bicycle for the first time.
Very good. Question two: why do some people get so high performing on stage, but I feel so drained after that?
Because they are focused on the audience. And so basically what gets them high is the fact that they are bringing pleasure to the audience. But if you feel drained, it's because you are so stressed that you are not doing well. And basically your conversation is about yourself, which is what
Focusing on
gets so
yourself,
yes, which
right?
is and if you look at people who are really wonderful to watch on stage, you realize that everything they do is for the audience, it's not for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, question three. Why do some people sing with so much emotions in front of an audience? They can be vulnerable, but I just feel so guarded.
This goes back to what we discussed earlier about the caretaker profile. So
Mm,
if you feel like you're embarrassed about showing emotions, and
mm,
this can come from a psychological profile, it comes from upbringing, whether or not as a child you felt okay to throw a tantrum, whether you felt okay to like act cute in front of your mother, and if you found that all of this was like kind of not okay, or your family was not the kind that allowed you to be like that,
mm,
and going back to my answer for question one is that you just simply have less practice showing your emotion. Yeah,
mm,
and also I think again also on my answer for question two is that the whole conversation in your head is about ayo jialat lah, are people looking at my face and are they like
what
judging
do
me
you
on
think
my
about my singing?
emotions?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all about me, I. But the thing is, a good singer knows that you have to put emotion on your face because that's what is part of the storytelling, that
Mm,
you help the audience to receive the meaning that you have. You must convey it, and if you don't convey it, then there's no message at all. Yeah.
mm, mm. Great. Okay, question four. My favorite. Why do some people think they sing very well when they obviously don't?
But it depends on what we say when it's obviously, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there's a reason why there are many famous singers who are technically not very good singers, really. I mean, there are people who sing with a lot of swear words and then they tend to scream and shout in their thing. But when they have concerts, 10,000 people bought tickets to go and watch them, right? So I think there's a subjective idea of what is good and what is not good, lah, basically. Just as with fashion, right? I mean, you watch some of these London, Paris fashion shows, some of them they look a bit crazy, right? The
Yeah.
fashion just doesn't. But there are people who fork out like 5-6 figures
Oh,
to
yeah.
to buy insane clothing, right? And so I think it's a subjective thing, perhaps. And also if they think they sing very well, I think another okay, I go deeper into psychology. Notice that this question also suggests that the speaker is very annoyed and very disturbed by
Mm,
the fact that this other person is singing and then they think that they're very good. I think sometimes psychologically, if we go a bit deeper, sometimes it comes from the fact like, how come you so lousy, then you dare to sing? But
mm.
then I'm very good, but then I don't dare to sing. So I think what might disturb you more is not part one, but I think it is part two, which is that I am pretty convinced I'm better than you. But even at my level, I don't dare to sing.
Or I think I know I can sing pretty well, but I'm not as showy as the people who doesn't sing as well as
Yeah,
me.
but that's self-glorification, isn't it? It's like, oh, I have the finesse to know that don't make so much noise. But you, oh my God, you are terrible, and then you still dare to sing, right? So there's a self-glorification there, and then your compensatory behavior is that you just decided not to perform, lah. So then now you have a basically it's a self-limiting outcome because the end game is you never perform, lor. So if you think that there are very lousy singers out there, maybe you should contribute to the repertoire of good singers and sing more.
Mm.
So that we
But
can
if
be 99 good singers and one terrible singer, right?
okay,
Yeah.
but if I give you another scenario, because there really are people like, for example, American Idol.
Yeah, yeah,
Those
yeah.
people they really cannot sing, but they can challenge Simon Cowell to say, "You know nothing about music." So how do you explain about these people?
I mean, the truth is, maybe they really do think that they are very good. I mean, if you can judge yourself to be good, how come other people cannot judge themselves to be good? You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And for what it's worth, they had the courage to go on American Idol. They have the courage to stand up for themselves when Simon says you're terrible. And then the other question we want to ask ourselves is that, do you have the courage to go on American Idol and say, well, here's an example of what good singing sounds like? And if
Mm.
Simon Cowell has something nasty to say about your voice, do you have the courage to say, well, Simon, that's your opinion, but I think I'm a good singer?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like how so few of us don't exactly have even half the courage to do what those people have done.
Mm. Mm.
I'm
Mm.
not saying I
It's
agree that
actually
they are
very,
good singers.
it's actually bravery. I
It
feel
is, isn't it? It's like,
it is.
whether you, well, at least I can say they probably believe in themselves more than a lot of us.
It's whether you think you're good or bad. I mean, obviously, if you go, you think you're pretty okay. But
Yeah.
the idea of facing rejection is quite scary for most people.
Mm.
But for
But
the people who go there thinking they are good,
but
like,
think about it, guys. I mean, the idea of performing is about the audience, isn't it? Because
mm,
the only difference between singing in your shower and singing on stage is the audience.
mm,
And the thing is, then what they think matters. But think about how so many people are so afraid to allow other people to get an opportunity to decide whether you are good or not. And which is
mm,
why they stay safe and they sing in their shower, because then with no audience, you'll always be the best singer. If so. Yeah.
mm, 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 mm.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Next question. Okay. So why do some performers come across as sincere, but some are labeled as showing off skills?
Hmm. I mean, I suppose that there is usually, I mean, if that's the impression that people get, there's usually some measure of truth to it. So
Mm,
then so it's all about your motivation for going on stage, right? So if the intention is to go up there and show raw emotion and tell stories with your music, then that's what people get lah. Right? I mean,
but
if you
people
go there
say,
and like, okay, let me like 飙高音, right, just to prove to people that I can keep like going up one key after another, then it's very clear that this is a display of a particular skill set, perhaps. So I think, and we tend to think that sometimes the audience misunderstands, but I think most of us, if you've like, sort of knocked around life for a while, you
mm,
usually get a pretty good sensing of what people's intentions are when they do certain things. So if that's the impression you got, there's probably some truth to it, actually.
yeah, but from the astrological point of view, would you say that there are certain energies that are more showing off? Like the person will tend to want to show off skills, and then some people will just feel like it's not very important to show off skills. I just want to touch people.
Yeah, but I think
Would you be able to
we
see that in the birth chart,
but
or?
but we talked about that, right? So basically, is whether or not the person is performing as a way to give something to the audience, or are you performing as a way to get validation? Because you see, I can
Mm,
also say a singer like Andrea Bocelli is such a show off. I mean, he's doing some of the most difficult opera songs ever, and tenors are fairly rare. Like a really really good tenor is really rare, right? For
mm,
a man to be hitting those notes without using falsetto, right?
mm,
It's a major thing. He's totally showing off. He's like biggest show off in the world, right? And then he sing in some of the biggest cathedrals just to prove to you that his voice will go to every corner of the cathedral, right? So
mm.
he's such a show off too, right? But then you also say he's sincere, what? So, like who's to say?
I think I get what you mean, because some people may look at the birth chart and say, oh, because you got this particular sign, so I think that's your tendency, you know. But you're just saying that actually whatever sign is in your birth chart,
Yes.
it really depends on the person
Yes.
whether they want to do it for themselves or for others.
But you see, what I can tell from the chart is whether or not you are a technical singer. So some
Mm,
people are performing type singers, but some people really care about where the muscle is, where they put their tongue, like how long they hold the vowel. There are people who are the technical singers. So
mm,
can I tell from the chart whether this person is technical or not technical? Yes, I can.
mm,
But where you have free will is that when you are singing, are you an Andrea Bocelli who hones your technical skills because you are a professional? Or are
mm.
you the type who basically hone your technical skills just to show other people, see, I can do this? Then I want your validation. Right? So that part is all you. Is all you, right? But the chart will tell me who is a naturally technically inclined singer.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay. Next question. Wait, hold on. Oops. Why are some performers popular? They attract kids singing and dancing, and what others make the audience feel so stoned and disengaged.
Same answer. The people who are popular sing for the benefit of the audience, while the people who stone your audience and disengage them are thinking me, am I doing it correctly? Why are you all not smiling? Why are you all not clapping for me? Right?
Mm,
But then the popular ones are the ones who go like, come on guys, let's do this together. And then when the kids, when some little toddler starts dancing in front, then they dance together with the toddler because it's fun, right? They do it not because it shows off what a great singer they are, but they
yeah.
do it because I want everyone to have fun. So everything they do is for the audience. But then the
Mm,
selfish singer only cares about themselves. Yeah.
mm. Okay,
I
great.
know I'm so terrible at calling all the singers selfish, but I think it's as
No,
for so many years
that's
as
a
a
good
psychological
point.
astrologer,
Yes.
I found that maybe my job for the people who listen to me is that raw authenticity. Because
Mm,
if we can admit to yourself that is it not true, of course I welcome it if people say, hey, may I disagree with you. I'm thinking about the audience when I'm stoning. Sure.
mm,
But but I can tell you if we are being honest with ourselves, is that we keep getting obsessed about whether we are doing it right. And then when people look at you with a frown on their face, then you don't
you perceive
realize,
that as,
yeah, it's like everything is about you. They're frowning because I suck. Right?
yeah,
But they could be frowning for a million other reasons, has nothing to do with you, but then everything is about you, right? So,
yeah.
which is why when you can release yourself from that self-centeredness, it
Mm,
allows you to understand that you are here because there's a role for you to play. This whole event is not about you. Then the funny thing is reverse psychology. It actually works. Now you're not so stressed already because the event is not about you.
mm,
Because if it's all about you, you better be perfect, right?
yeah. I think I
Yeah.
can. I mean, because you help me retrieve some memories of my own performing journey. Because I think you can see I'm quite technical in my singing. Like I like the details and everything,
Yes.
because I want perfection. But at the same time, this is what actually makes me so stressed up. Because I'm thinking about like, am I doing this correctly? How do people judge my singing? And after a performance of this kind of mindset, right, I just feel so exhausted. And then I
Yes.
come, because it's all about me, am I good enough? Am I
Yes.
doing the right things? Sometimes when the audience don't clap, right, because it's a wedding dinner, lah, they may or
Yeah.
may not clap, right? But I make it about me to say, maybe I'm not performing enough, maybe I'm not good enough. But
Yeah.
actually, I have several cases where at the end of the dinner, nobody clap, but at the end of the dinner, people start coming, as I'm leaving the hall. Hey, you sing very well, thank you so much. Then it's like they just don't want to clap. It's not about you, it's
Yeah.
they're just enjoying eating and mingling. They don't have time for you to clap. It's not a concert. So
Yeah.
I made it into me. But actually, I just need to do my job.
And the thing about a wedding dinner, if you want to be really honest, if the wedding dinner is about anybody, it's about the bride and the groom. It's definitely not about you. Right? You know what I mean? It's like, and you can imagine how so one of the big cornerstones of my work. Today we talk about singing, right? But I'm invited to speak about things, everything from dating to like career issues, right? And it's staggering how much of our problems in
Mm,
any context is about how much we think the world revolves around us.
mm, mm, mm,
But
mm,
actually, we are not thinking enough about there's actually all these 8 billion people in the world. What role are you playing for them? And which
mm,
is why if you find that your singing is lack of purpose or lack of meaning, right? It's because meaning and purpose only comes from what function it performs for other people and not
mm,
necessarily for ourselves. If everything is about us, there's no purpose and no meaning. To do
mm,
it for one person is not worth it. But to do it for
mm,
an entire auditorium of 2,000 people watching you, that feels a bit more worth it.
mm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we know we are
Okay.
not great, right? So to do it for one person is very silly, like not worth the effort. Right? You know what I mean?
Okay. Question 7. Okay. So does experience make one more approachable, less drained, more emotionally attractive, and be able to sing with more emotions? I can tell you, a lot of these questions, right, come from one of my students. Like her Gemini energy very strong. She needs a lot of information.
No, that's fine. It's fine. But
Yeah,
my
it's
answer
quite
to this
funny.
my answer to this question is yes. Also because I think, okay, you see, when I talk about experience giving confidence. And so the
Mm,
thing is that once you have experience, then the most important thing is that experience makes you less self-centered. You know how
mm,
when you brush teeth nowadays, you are not really thinking about like, oh, I am this person brushing teeth. But let me
Am
tell you,
I
if you
doing
are looking at a
correctly? Like,
4-year-old, yeah, a 4-year-old kid is very conscious of like, oh shit, am I doing it correctly or not? Is my mother going to look at my teeth later? Hey, why you never brush properly? You know? So it's
yeah.
like, but when you do it every day, you're not thinking about it. And that means that you are more present for other people. And that you are not just self-centered and thinking about yourself. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Yeah.
mm,
So experience makes everything easier. Yes.
mm, mm. Great. Okay, last question. Why do some people love to sing from young, but others don't, and just like to listen to others sing? I think you may have sort of explained it, but
No, I mean, there are things in the chart that could suggest why some people discover music later in life. Bevlyn
mm,
will remember this. Like I teach techniques like Antisha, for
mm,
example. Sometimes the North Node is one of those things that can awaken things that happen later in life when people have the maturity to realize that, oh, life is not just about promotions and earning lots of money. Maybe there's time for music. Isn't that nice, right? So some people go into it in their retirement, for example, which is very nice.
mm,
But why do some people love to sing from young? It could be related to the chart in the sense that some people are just naturally very like it's like a showy personality. I mentioned about the sun, and if sun is strong in that person's chart, they will want to draw attention to themselves from a young age. So to be fair, both Bevlyn and I have strong suns. So which
mm,
means from even as young as childhood or even early teens, we like the idea of being on stage of
yeah.
like showing off on stage, and I'm the same, right? And I'm the same. So these people are more likely because it's part of how these people are wired, right? So which
Yeah.
means that and you don't really change your personality from birth to death, right? Not really. The core personality is pretty much the same person. So
Mm,
that's why these people will demonstrate those from a young age. But like listening to other people sing is also, it can be shown in the chart as well. So there are certain signs, there are certain planets that describe more of appreciation rather than action. So that
mm.
means there are people who will pay a lot of money to go to the opera, but have never felt the need to get trained in opera
Oh,
singing.
yeah, yeah.
And some of you love to go to Paris and look at all these like Picassos and whatever, but you are never motivated to actually be a painter yourself, right? So there are things in our chart that show this is what we admire and this is what we appreciate, but not necessarily that you want to be a producer,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So it's a different part of the psyche. So I don't know if this is a technical answer, but
mm.
to
I
an
think that's
astrologer it's
fair
quite clear.
because I think it's fair because we need consumers as well. We can all be producers.
Yeah. Correct, right? It's like if everybody want to be astrologer, then I also out of business already, ma. But some people just like watching me read charts. Like I got students who tell me, May, your class, I have trouble learning things in your class. Maybe I'm slow, which is not true. But I really like coming and watch your video and watch you read charts. So I mean, sure. I mean, if that's what you enjoy, that's what you enjoy, lah, right? But if you want to learn, you can learn. If you don't want, you just want to watch video, that's cool too. Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. So I think my last, slide here is to ask you for some closing advice from the standpoint of astrology. Like, what will you say to encourage singers, aspiring singers, in their journey of growth and expansion in their singing?
Hmm. I
Mm,
think okay, and maybe in the context of Singapore, right? It's not a country that promotes the arts
mm,
and singing and music and that kind of thing. I know it's difficult to find an avenue. So I think one of the things that astrology can really help people with is, as what Beverly says, there's a lot of people with that guilt that you want to pursue something because this is different from trying to get A's at school, right? So
mm,
I think if this is something that you are worried about, and that you feel like there are barriers to self-expression, then just like Bevlyn, you may find that astrology becomes a way to, in her words, heal that inner child demon. So that means
mm,
if there are things that you're embarrassed about, and frankly, it is a self-acceptance issue. That I want to
mm.
be a singer. Oh my God, this is bad. Like I'm a bad person. I want to be a singer, right? So like people will feel I'm very Howlin or whatever.
I think because we have very limited time, so I haven't even managed to share this part, but I think it's very empowering, to know the wound inside you that you didn't even know it's been festering all through your life, and you just, go through day in, day out,
It
feeling like
affects you
you're not
much
worth
more
it,
than singing.
you're not expressive, a lot of wounds are inside you that, just festers throughout your life, yeah.
And and it's not just singing. There are people who have the same problem at work. You find it hard to
Mm,
speak up. You find it hard to ask for promotion.
mm,
So
mm,
it's expression is just a human way of putting something out there, and it affects everything in life. And of course, for singing as well. Now, the other thing is that the other problem with the fact that not a lot of people go into music and the arts in Singapore is that there seems to be this formula. Right, everybody has to follow this. Must be a recording artist, must be a whatever,
mm,
and as we covered so many examples of different ways in which somebody might decide to build a career or a side hustle
mm.
in singing. And I think sometimes if you try to take too much advice from the industry people, then they tell, oh, it's done like that in Singapore. One size fit all, everybody square peg round hole, right?
And you're too old, lah. You're not pretty enough, the usual suspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So which means that at a various stage of your life, and I think it's also important to use astrology as a way to, sometimes it's very useful to eliminate your choices. Some people are lost, right? Because then there are like a million ways to do music. Should you
Mm,
should you Instagram? Should you like this and that? And there are people, there are famous singers. Ask Bevlyn, there are famous singers who never show their face one. So they are, they sing songs for animation, like all your Disney animation. There are some fantastic voices, and millions of people watch it for decades and decades. And tell me who's the voice of Snow White in the cartoon lah, not the new one, right? You know what I mean? Have you heard of people like Liz Calloway? Have you heard of people like Judy Kuhn, the voice of Pocahontas?
uh,
Right? So is it possible that there are people who don't mind just sharing their voice, but then
mm.
too paiseh to show their face? Judy Kuhn is a Broadway actress, so she's not too paiseh, but you all know what I mean, right? So there
I
are people,
actually have a student, right, who said, uh, she likes cosplay because she doesn't show her face. She
yeah,
doesn't want to show her face. Yeah,
Why not? Why not
yeah.
just dress up as a Japanese anime character and then go to events and sing at events? And then you can
Mm,
hide behind the character, or you can sing the theme song from the Japanese anime. That's
mm,
fine.
mm,
Right? So the truth is that there are really a myriad of ways that somebody can find something that is unique to you, that's expressive. And it doesn't mean that you have to wear sexy clothes. It doesn't mean you have to be an Instagram star. It
mm,
doesn't mean you have to sing every day. Right?
mm,
So yeah, I think it's important to know who we are, and then we can design for yourself this way of doing things that allows you to contribute. It allows you to be yourself and
mm,
not feel like you have to like go and cut off a finger or an arm here and there just to be what people say you must be, which
mm,
to me
mm,
is very bullshitty. It's
mm.
not real.
I think the how do I say this, one of the saddest things in life, right, is if you cannot see yourself clearly. To me, that's one of the saddest things in life. And I wish I know astrology earlier, because I realized that I don't see myself clearly. And then suddenly, right, like the grid is on. I'm like, ayo, what have I been doing all my life? Like,
Yeah.
just get on with it. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
the feedback I get from all my psychological astrology students. It's like, it's just insane how there is a language to describe almost everything that you are experiencing or thinking or feeling. But it never occurred to people that there's such a way to actually use English words to describe what is actually happening, or why you think a particular way, or why you behave a certain way. And
Mm,
also the students like to notice that their classmates are very different from them. And it
mm,
becomes very clear to you what is natural for you is totally not natural for your classmate, and vice versa. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
you can respect not just yourself, you can respect other people as well for the
Mm,
individuals that they are. So astrology makes it very hard for you to like hate people. It's like you develop a new love for humanity and
mm,
how
mm,
people are, and to appreciate that actually everyone has a place to be. Yeah.
mm, that's true.
Yeah.
So, how can people reach you?
Okay. The
For a
best
reading, or to take your courses, how can
yeah.
they reach you?
Okay, so for if you are somebody who is new to this, I would recommend one of two things. So one is that if you are the type who is the learner type, you like to see how things work, and you like
Mm,
to spend some time to, like what Bevlyn says, get to know yourself, then I say
mm,
you can start your journey in the basic class. I call this Decode the Birth Chart. So
mm,
it's just a one weekend class, and I'll teach you some of the basics. If you like my teaching style and you find it very engaging and easy to apply, then you can go on and do the level 2, which is what Bevlyn has done, and that is the psychology level, and that's where I will introduce the profiles and things like that. So to do that, you can visit my website. It is www.selfstrology.com. I will probably get Bevlyn's help to
Put in the
sort of
link.
put it in a link somewhere because that spelling is a bit that one, right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
go to the website. You will see that there's information about the various courses. Okay, so the second thing that you can do is to get a personal consultation. So some people don't want to go through the learning and you just want to have a professional do it for you. You can take that option as well. So the consultation is about 2 to 3 hours. And then I will require your birth information, and then we'll meet on Zoom where I will dissect your chart, take your questions, and so on and so forth. Okay, so so you can do that also. Same thing on the website, selfstrology.com. You just click on consultations and you can get in touch with us. Our email address, so how to get in touch with us directly is our email address is hello@selfstrology.com. Yeah. So email us. I see every single email. So either myself or my very trusty assistant, Jeremy, will be in touch. We usually text you directly or we might get on a call with you. We are very interested to know who you are and where you're from, what you're dealing with in life. And then if you're not sure which one to choose, we can make a recommendation for you.
Yeah. But I have to say, right, taking your basic course, it sounds basic, but actually it's not basic. I feel like I learned so much over that weekend, right? My life, I mean, my brain just exploded. You know, it is jam-packed with value, it's so structured. Um, and because you ask us to watch a lot of videos, not a lot, but videos, before meeting you live on Zoom, and I thought that wow, this is so structured. And then the psychological astrology classes, right? Those were another level of mind blowing, lah. Because it's so succinct, so accurate. I want to share a funny story with you because I think I can't remember when, but I got in touch with an American astrologist, just for fun reading that kind. Then during the session, right, I asked her, do you know what's a Thor's hammer? Then she said she doesn't know. So my point is, like everybody is an astrologist, but actually there is a difference in how much knowledge, you know what I'm trying to say?
Okay, I tell you, none of my students ever believe me when I tell you guys that if you go through my education, it actually makes you a better astrologer than some of those people out there who claim to be professionals and who dare to
Yeah.
collect money, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
and my students never believe me because they all think that, I don't know how to read lah. It's like I'm very sucky at this. And you don't realize that, especially Bevlyn, you did the exercise at the end of the peer review.
Mm,
And in fact, what you were able to produce as
mm.
a layman, as somebody who say, oh, I don't know, what you produce there is better than most professional astrologers. I guarantee. Because I'm in the industry, I know what the professionals can do and I know what my students can do. My students are better than most professionals, although
Wow.
they will not believe it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I practice on my friends, and I can say I practice over 50 charts because I'm so into it, right?
Yes.
And then, I mean, the feedback is usually, oh, it's so accurate. Of course, I'm not always 100% accurate because I'm not there yet. But I think generally it speaks volume of your volume and your content, the kind of the value you give in your courses. Yeah.
Also because Beverly is a very hardworking student. She got
True lah.
practice after class. Yeah, because if she never practice after class, then I tell you everything give back to the teacher.
I'm very Capricornian in this.
Yeah, but I cannot guarantee whether or not a student wants to practice after the class, right? But
Yeah.
for my students who pay attention in class and you actually bother to do some practice after class, you're better than a lot of professionals out there. I guarantee.
Okay, so I think that's about it. Thank you so much for giving me so much time. Oh my God, I didn't know it's so long.
It's okay. It's okay. Well, I mean, you can always cut it up into like smaller pieces so that people can consume it. But
Yes.
it's okay. I'd rather do long form than to do very short and then we don't give substance,
Thank you so much, May. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.